Hey guys, Maxter here. Just to lead into the how-to video on my side lever for my Gauntlet 1, and it'll fit a Gauntlet 2. These are custom made, and what this video is about, the parts I used. Basically, you can use any part you want, but this will kind of get you in the right direction. And it's just a quick video. Well, it's not a quick video, but homemade, of course. And as you can see, this is the Gauntlet 1. I've been shooting this particular arm, this lever, for about a year. I've probably got well over 1,000 rounds in it. No flaws. Works beautiful. One finger pull. It cost me about 25 bucks to make. There is a little, you can do it yourself, or you can have somebody maybe turn one little part, lathe work. But other than that, it's all do it yourself. You can design your own arm. These are just hobby parts through here, and a little bit of aluminum in the back, and the video will show exactly how I did it. And the parts that I use, real simple. You can do it yourself. Like I said, this will work on anything, the 177, the 22s, 25s, and the 30s. Now there might be a dimension different. Get yourself a good pair of calipers. Make sure that the dimensions are right, and then custom fit it yourself. I mean, you can make it as tight or as loose. It really isn't critical on any of it. It just fits together, and you'll see in the video that it's pretty simple to do. Anyway, you can see that it's just this one finger pull. And you might want to put an arm down or change the configuration on the end. And you'll see this jumping. That's because there's no pellet in it. Anyway, watch the video. I'll put it together here shortly, and hope you enjoy it, and good luck building them, guys. Thanks. Okay, so first things first, parts. What you're going to need is a tie rod end, RC Hobbies. This is off an RC car. It's just a tie rod end. And you want the swivel mounts. It has to be able to move. And this was the smallest one I could find, but I didn't want to go smaller than 5 millimeters because there is a lot of stress on the back of these things when you cock them. So you want 5 millimeter at least. And then you need 5 millimeter stainless or steel, but stainless is a little stronger and it won't rust. These come in a 5-pack, and then you cut it to length and put a slight bend in it, part of it straight, and then halfway back, or a little better than halfway, you put a little bend in it. That's your arm. Then you need 2 nylocks. Those are also 5 millimeter. Those go on the end. That's what centers. And you need a lock nut, or just a regular jam nut, and that will go on the end, as you'll see in the video as I keep going along here. Hope this makes sense. You need that. This has to go on here like that. And I usually screw this down to make sure it has plenty of room in it. And then you just use that. When you finally get it all set, you use this jam nut to set it. Okay? That's all the parts you're going to need there for that. Alright, part 2. Okay, now we got the rod, the connecting rod. You've got your ball joint end here, what is it, steering rod end is basically what it looks like, and it has to have the swivel. Remember that, because this has to move back and forth like this. See? All right, and then you get your jam nut here, and you've got another nylock here. Then I use a nylon washer just for cushion and no squeaks. And then when you get it into the bolt, actually I'll put this down. This goes on here like this. This goes on here like that. Now I'll show you what, this is the other thing, the next thing you have to make. This is the bolt arm, replacing this one. This goes away. You want to retain a little notch in the back so your set screw sets in there properly and holds this thing square like that, parallel with the bolt. Alright, so we get rid of that. This is what you're going to make next, and this is a screwdriver. It's a screwdriver shank, chrome plated if you want. Yeah, this one here happened to be chrome. Oh, that's set by this. 0 millimeters. This one happens to be 9.54 millimeters. And the bolt size inside is 8.14. That's what I turned it to, ground it down. Now this part here is what fits into the bolt itself, with the little notch facing toward the back. The overall length on this, make sure that's zeroed. Now you can make these longer, but this part here to here is fairly close. It has to clearance everything there, and you can figure that out, but I'll give you a figure. Okay, overall length is, on mine, is 38.25, and the distance between here and inside the bolt is 21.31, and I tapered the end of it so it doesn't scuff anything. You don't want it to be flush with the outside of the bolt so it doesn't drag. Just give yourself a few thousandths of an inch. Let's see if I can get this a little close. Okay, that's 20 millimeters. I think you see that. Okay, 20 millimeters. And this is just something, like I said, and you want this to fit nicely into the bolt so it doesn't move back and forth. And then you set your set screw. So once you've got that built, you take it and put it in the gun with a notch towards the back, like so. And take your Allen. There's a set screw inside there. Like that. You just snug that down. Okay, now that's in. See how that works? Now the next thing I do, I made this spring. I bought this spring at the hardware. It's a little bit longer when you're in the store, but it's about 1 pound or half a pound push maybe. And I cut it to length. In other words, I put it in there and it comes just about to the end of the gun. You don't want it to bunch up inside, okay? Now we've got the bolt in, and that's secure. The spring is in. Now the second part of this is you need to build this little bolt in the back, or pod, or pivot point. I guess it's a pivot point. Anyway, this has to be drilled and tapped. 5 millimeter. It has to fit the bolt. 5 millimeter bolt, which is that one right there. These are just cap screws, okay? 5 millimeter. Just goes in there like that, okay? And I'll show you in a sec here how that goes. Anyway, now measure your gun. You have a good caliper. And I made mine as snug as I could get it, and it's 12.92 millimeters threaded, and it goes in there like that and just pushes in on it like that. See? That's it. Now this length out here, you can do any length you want, but I found this was about the acceptable length without getting too big. And that is overall length is about 31.5 overall. And I hand cut this. This is just a hacksaw. And when I did my drill press, I just made this vertical, matched the holes. And my spacing on mine, unless you want it back, now you can, this is something to be determined by yourself. If you want it further back, a little more room, whatever. It kind of depends on the shape of your handle. Mine happens to be from center to center is approximately 18 millimeters, okay, center to center. That's what mine is. And the groove is about the same. 18 and 18, just come out that way. And this is about as big around as you want to go in the back because it doesn't hang over the edges right here, as you can see on the receiver. It's just flush. And it is 24 millimeters, 23.96. And so you can see how this works. See, it's just almost perfectly flush. And I wouldn't go any bigger than that because it just looks good that way. So you see how the spring goes in, and then I cut a little in. Now I have a lathe, so I can do this on a lathe, but you can do the same part, take it down to a machine shop. Might cost you 25 bucks, but I happen to have a lathe, but 25 bucks is not much. Anyway, they can machine that down. Once you get the description, you buy a solid piece of bar stock, aircraft aluminum, good quality stuff, not anything else. And that goes in like that. Have them cut it. And the other thing is, these holes go clear through, threaded all the way through. And they have to be. And I'll show you that right now. Let's see, what do we want to do first? Okay, part 3. What I'm going to do now, as you can see, I tore my gun down first, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this back in there. Okay, first of all, I'm going to get this in here. Being that it's spring-loaded now, you have to kind of do a couple little tricks just to keep things from springing all over the place. Whoops. Okay, I just snug these up just a little, nothing. So in case it has to move or settle in, never tighten these things up solid at first. Okay, now you got this in there. Now you push this back in, and see I relieve this on the end so the spring will center on it and keeps it right in there. Okay, push that in, push this up, find the slot for the, I think that's it right there. I need another. Whoa, see what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes it gets to be like a 3-ring circuit around here trying to get this in here. Okay, that goes in there. Push that in. Maybe you should be able to get it. There you go. I got it. Then bring this in. Just snug it. The T-Allens work really well, just to give yourself a little more manageable. Okay, now that's in. Your bolt's in, see, and see it's spring-loaded. It goes back, and that's what you want. It always goes back forward, and then it assists this arm. When it wants to go down, it'll actually make this go down. It'll assist it, okay? So that's all in now. Now, the next thing I want to do is, this is the arm. Now, this arm, I made a cardboard or a wooden silhouette, and you can design this in any shape you want. You can have it with a handle down on the end. I like the little finger thing in the back. But that's up to you, what you want it to look like. You can do anything with it. Now, when I measured this thing out, originally, I put the hole in the wrong place. That's why you're seeing this hole. And I decided that it was much easier to move out here. I had a mechanical advantage that I liked worked just as well here as it did here. It was a little bit too close. This arm became too close to the receiver in this hole, so I decided to move it out to here. And I'll give you a dimension on that right now. Center to center. On mine, and like I said, this is not exact here. This on mine it's 32 millimeters from center to center. Whoops, wrong hole. Heard that before. All right. That is pretty close. And that's almost 39 millimeters. I got 38.76, okay? Center to center, 38.76. Now that's a good place to start. And you could, like I said, if you make this out of wood, you can move this around a little bit until you find the hole that you like, and then once you get try it on with your template, then get yourself some bar stock or whatever you're going to use. Some guys have suggested 3D, but as far as I'm concerned, 3D is junk. Not for something like this. You want something substantial that's going to hold up. You want some good, high-quality, military-grade, no 3D crap, okay? That's just me. Now, the other thing I did, now these got bushings in it, and this is a bearing. One of the things you will have to do, and I'm going to show this up close where you can see it, this little thing is real important. This is kind of the bump screw. And what that bump screw does, let's see, this is the shaft. Okay, this is the side. See how the bend goes? It follows like that. The bump is right here. This is where this little bump screw comes in. And it bumps right there. And what that does, when it bumps it, it causes this thing, the lever closes, and when it's completely closed, it forces this down. That's why you want a swivel. And I'll show you that. Okay, so what I want to do now, okay, I need, there's the screw. I need a washer. Make sure. I'll show you why I made this go all the way through. This is your adjustment, so it keeps the adjustment 100% proper all the time. You don't want this to just go through and screw into it. It has to be something you can cinch down. See, if I go too tight on that, that thing won't move. So the trick is, and I just go ahead and do this, put on another, this is a 5mm nylock. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this little guy, and then I'm going to take this little guy and see. You turn this in. See that? You just want to take the play out of it, okay? There's no play there. That's just near perfect right there. And tighten this up. And then make sure that's, I can go a little bit more. Oop, not too much. Right there, okay. Perfect. That way this bolt right here and this nut, this bolt and will not move now. And you've got a nice, perfectly matched, aligned, smooth action. And see, this will never tighten up. That bolt will never move. This will stay the same all the time. Okay, so that's in. Okay, that making sense? Now, this is the little baby again. Okay, here's your arm. And I usually thread this thing in all the way. I put it in, well, you can see kind of, here's a comparison. I thread it in almost as far as it'll go. See what I'm saying? This one's got a different kink, and I made about 4 or 5 of these. So I know they work, guys. I know they work. All right, so we got that. And then I use a nylon for cushion. And it's a hard nylon, too. It's not a soft, real soft. A hard nylon. All right, so that goes in there like that. And then I put another nylon on the other end. See how that's going? And then you put your little nylon on, your nut on there. When you get fat thumbs like I do, and then screw that on. And what I usually do, well, let's see, I can do it now. Let's see, because I think I can get my wrench on there with this loose like this. Oops, wrong one. This end nut is what you set your play with. And you can take it right down to where there's, see, I got a ton of play in there now. Alright, there's still a ton of play. And once you get it all dialed in to where you want it, and the length, everything, then you can go back, see how that's just moving a little bit. That's okay. Take the play out of it. Okay, so that's just, there's a couple thousandths there. Okay, now you take this little dude and you stick it onto the bearing. Whoops, washer. Put a gap, put a washer right here so the bearing doesn't scrub against the lever. And then another nylon. And this one you can tighten the crap out of it because it doesn't do anything. It compresses against the bearing itself. It'll never move. Same thing. T-handles really work great because you can kind of use your hands, kind of hands-free. Kind of, my ends are backed up today. Oh. All right. That's good. Now, this is secure. Now you can start to see a little bit how this is. I'm going to move this around. Hopefully you can see this. All right, so I got it together. This is in. This is tight. This is tight because I snugged this up. See how it goes? And it goes back. See, that spring forces it back. Okay, now you see how this bump screw works right here? See if I can hold this right. This bump screw is the thing you have to play with. Now I've got a washer, and this is how I figured out how to adjust it, because you might want that bump when you get the hole drilled in there. Basically you need to figure out how close or how far away. Well, if it's not quite on right on, you can put a washer in here and move it up and down. You need something, and it needs to be rounded because it's going to bump the edge of this thing, like I was saying on this one, wherever it is. And it is right here. It's going to bump this thing, and what it's going to do, when it bumps this edge, it screws it down. See, it just moves it right down. Same thing right here. When it gets to this point, just watch, see? As it comes away, as you pull your lever out, this bump screw goes away and disappears on the other side of it, and that's when you bolt. See, that's what moves it right there. That makes sense? And if you need to, if it's too tight or too loose, you can put a little shim or a washer under here to make the tolerances a little bit tighter. Now this is about right. I think I got it the first time. You want this just a little bit loose. This whole thing should be somewhat loose. Not to the point where it rattles or anything, but you should have just a little bit. And this one is just about right. Okay, so this is tight, that's tight. Now I have a tune kit in mine. Normally this plug would be in there, but if you don't have one, you just leave that plug in, you don't do anything. But you notice, see, that goes clear through too. So you got to go clear through. And there's a lot of people that make these tune kits that are good kits. And it's a nice thing to have because if you're fine tuning or whatever for what particular pellet you may be running, that really is very helpful. So that should be ready to go. As far as I know, I don't think I forgot anything. Cocked. There you go. Now you see this, when I did that last one, it'll jump. But when you have a pellet in there, it won't jump. Maybe just slight, but it won't come out. You don't lose any pressure. Well, I've run this setup in my gun now for over a year. I've probably got 1,000 rounds through it. I haven't, for no need, had to make any adjustments at all. Just to show guys how I did it, primarily. So that's it. And you can build this whole thing, maybe $25 or less if you've got your own lathe or some way, buddy that'll turn it. Or you can take this down and have somebody machine it for you for 25, 30 bucks. Now when the pellet's in there, this will stay like that. Perfect. That's it, guys. Good luck. Like I said, for 25, 30 bucks, a little bit of elbow grease. Like I said again, you can take and make this your own design function. Many holes, less holes. I do not suggest using 3D print. It won't be strong enough. And it may be or may not be, I should say. I can't say for sure, but I can say for sure you'll never break something like this, ever. None of this will break. This won't leave you high and dry. Okay? Thanks for watching, and good luck on this.